Jimmy Kimmel Live is not live anymore. They're not airing it. ABC says, we don't like what you said. We've heard the clip a million times. I mean, we can play it again. But we're going to sit you and put you on the bench. And I think, a few things that we can talk about here. First Amendment, should he have been taken off the air? We'll get to Trump maybe taking over the airwaves. Here's the first thing, Bear. I'm not a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. Never really have been. I don't hate him. I don't hate anybody. I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I think it's boring to just bash Donald Trump every night. And to be quite honest with you, and maybe it's my job, the last thing I want at night is to hear anything about Donald Trump or Joe Biden or any politician.
You don't want to get all riled up.
I don't want to get riled up, and I don't love politics.
Right.
I don't live my life in the political world. I think there's a whole world out there that we all forget about. So when I'm it's 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, and these late night shows come on, I'll be honest, I have no interest. I don't think it's entertaining just to bash Donald Trump. I think it's boring to me, and so I just don't watch it. And so Jimmy Kimmel gets in some trouble earlier this week, and they sit him on the bench. Is what he said so bad?
I don't think what he said was bad at all. I mean, that was the thing. He wasn't talking about Charlie Kirk. He wasn't talking about his family. In fact, earlier he actually had said how awful it was that Charlie was murdered and everything that happened. He made a comment that you could argue it wasn't true at that point. He was trying to say that over the weekend the folks on the MAGA side were trying to find any way they could to say that this guy wasn't one of theirs.
Let's play it.
You got it? Yeah. Okay, good.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So I'll stop it there. That's what he got suspended for. And so when I saw the clip, I kept waiting until the end to see what he got suspended for.
Yeah.
And so that's it?
That was it.
Okay.
The next part after that, he talks about how Trump was so upset about it that a reporter asked Trump at one point where Trump takes questions outside.
Let's hear it.
You got it?
There we go, yeah.
Between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes.
Okay, and so it's a weird way to answer a question, but I think when people are listening to this 1 minute clip, they're like, okay, did he say the thing that got him canceled?
He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
Okay, so here's my take on that. And as I said, I'm just not really a fan of Kimmel.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad guy or anything like that. Here's me. I don't think you should put anything about a guy who got killed in a monologue that you're trying to make people laugh. That's my problem. I leave it out.
Okay.
That's just me. That's my preference.
And that's fine. And you're obviously allowed to have that feeling, and a lot of people are. People have said he's lying, and you could certainly say he was lying, that what he said wasn't true, and that's okay. What happened here, though, and the reason that this is an issue. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel at all, frankly. I mean,
I don't either.
I don't know anything about him. I don't watch the show either. But why this is important for the rest of us is it's a free speech issue.
Yes.
And what makes us a democracy, what makes us a constitutional republic, is that we have free speech. And what you see historically, Gaydos, in any country where democracy leaves and you start to get an autocratic, you start to get a dictator, when that happens, one of the first things they come after is the comedians. It starts to be where you're not allowed to make fun of the powerful elite. You're not allowed to do that anymore. The United States has never been like that. People don't like them, but you're always allowed to do it. But here's the issue. Did the government, because the chairman of the FCC, and he's a Trump guy, did the chairman of the FCC indicate or make a statement that unless ABC did something, they were going to come after ABC? And the FCC controls not just the networks, but what they really control are the the companies that own the local broadcasters, right? So our local TV stations are, for the most part, owned by larger companies that own a whole bunch of TV stations across the country. And the FCC chairman went on an interview show on Wednesday, or maybe it was Tuesday, I'm getting the days mixed up, but they went on an interview show and he said, hey, these local companies should be looking at this. If you have local TV shows, you should look at this. And within a few hours, it's called Nexstar, this large company that owns a bunch of TV stations, went on and said, we're not going to be airing Kimmel's show for a while on all of our TV stations. Now, what were they worried about? Nexstar is literally in the middle of a merger, a $6.2 billion merger with another local TV station company called Tegna, where they were going to become the largest. If it's approved by the FCC, it has to be approved by the FCC.
They have to change the rules.
They have to be approved that they can even do what they're doing, and they'd have to change the rules to allow them to own a larger percentage of TV stations that reach a larger percentage.
Because I think you're only allowed to own 39% or something like that.
And this would take them well above that. So they need the FCC to approve and the FCC to change one of its own rules.
Yeah, it's the backdoor deals that are happening.
So if the FCC says, no, we're not going to do that because you're not doing what we're asking you to do, that's a huge business issue for them.
Right.
Same thing, the next company that did this, Sinclair Media, which owns a bunch of TV stations, they also have business in front of the FCC. These companies always have business because they're buying stations, they're selling stations.
So it had nothing to do really with what Jimmy Kimmel said.
Well,
not really.
Jimmy Kimmel's been bashing Trump since 2016,
sure. Right?
And no one's ever come out and said, none of these TV station companies have ever come out and said we're not going to air them anymore. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until the FCC chairman said and by the way, the FCC chairman said, you're talking to these companies, we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way.
It's crazy.
Which is an obvious statement of you can take care of this now on your own, or we're going to come after you, and you can see how that goes.
Right.
So was this government affecting free speech? Absolutely it was. And Gaydos, I'll say it from a legal perspective, and that's how I look at this. The Supreme Court has been unequivocal in this, that the government can't do what just happened here, and I'm not going to get too deep into the stuff, but there was a case in the 1960s that dealt with this, and it was unanimous then. There was a case last year. The current Supreme Court ruled 9-0, and it was an NRA. The NRA was the plaintiff. The NRA said a New York regulator was saying things that was making it, we can't do business in New York anymore because this regulator who regulates insurance companies and banks made it so those insurance companies and banks wouldn't do business with the NRA. And the lower courts had said, no, they're allowed to do it. And the U.S. Supreme Court, 9-0, unanimous, Republicans and Democrats, liberals, they all said that's a violation of free speech to have anybody from the government, even if it's not direct intimidation, even if it's not saying we're going to make it where you can't do business, just giving that inference, just giving that impression and intimidation is enough to say that violates free speech, that violates the First Amendment.
Yeah.
This is so clearly within that. It's an obvious violation of the First Amendment. And we should all be worried about that. All of us should. Republican, I don't care what your politics are. We should all be worried about it.
I don't think what Kimmel said was the worst thing that was said this week.
No.
I think the Fox News, and everybody knows how I feel about Fox News and CNN. I never watch it. I think that it's garbage. I don't think it's news anyway. If you watch it, I don't care. But Brian Kilmeade, who, by the way, many years ago I thought was really funny, and I thought he was kind of edgy and funny. Well, he said, I think it was at the end of last week, we should just kill homeless people. If you don't believe me, go look up the clip. You can watch it
we should inject them and just kill them.
We should kill the homeless people. And I watched it and I go, no, that's because I thought somebody took it out of context. I'm like, no way did he say that.
Yeah.
And he did, and he had to come out and apologize. And to me, I think that's probably a fireable offense.
Yeah.
What Jimmy Kimmel did was not tell the truth, and that's bad too. Because as far as I know, the killer of Kirk is not some MAGA kid. Or I don't think he is.
Let's call it a lie. Let's say it's a complete lie.
So Jimmy Kimmel came out and lied. I can say that.
He's allowed to do that. That free speech, you're allowed to do that. And I have to tell you, we saw it. Fox News has admitted this. They settled a lawsuit and admitted that they lied when they were talking about the 2020 election and saying it was stolen and all
Dominion,
that. Yeah. And guess what? They're still on the air. It's different than a broadcast station. But my point is, people go on the air and lie all the time. This is constant. But when you have the President of the United States who literally said yesterday and again today and made it even more.
Well, he floated the revoking of licenses for networks
but he's
that
saying,
are critical of him.
He's saying that if you say things that are negative to me, that is illegal.
Yeah.
And it's not, Gaydos. And all of us, whether you're a Trump person or not, all of us should be concerned about that. Because I got to tell you, in a few years, there might be a Democratic president. And how are you going to think when that Democratic president starts saying, shut down Fox News, I don't like what they're saying
unfair.
about me.
That'd be unfair.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.